Hey everyone, Mr. Lewis here. Hey, I just wanted to kind of touch base and do things a little bit differently today. In particularly, what we're going to be doing is studying the Heian Japan and looking at the art and the culture at this particular time period. Now, you can see this picture right here. We recognize some things, recognize this architecture for sure. We've seen this, and it's very, very influential from China. And the Japanese were eagerly studying the Chinese culture during this time period, and they definitely adapted and installed many components of Chinese culture into their own. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm not going to read all of the slides, but I'm going to kind of do an overview to help you guys kind of understand a little bit about the high-end Japan culture and allow you guys to kind of get started with the graphic organizer that you guys are to complete. Now, the nobles, they wanted to win the emperor's favor by living close to him. In Heian, these nobles created an imperial court, or a very, very special court, a group of nobles who lived near and served or advised a ruler. Members of the noble court had little to do with the common people of Heian. They lived apart from poorer citizens and seldom or rarely left the city. Now, I know we're not necessarily never leaving the city, but we can definitely relate to being quarantined right now and being limited with our options. So we can definitely relate, am I right? Now, these nobles enjoyed their lives of ease and privilege. In fact, their lives were so easy and so removed from the rest of Japan that many nobles called themselves dwellers among the clouds. All right, moving on. The particular period for Heian Japan was between 794 and 1185, and this is considered the golden age of the arts in Japan. You can recognize again some of this architecture, these masks, perhaps you've seen these illustrations and the decor, the way in which they dress, very, very familiar and very unique, beautiful in many different aspects. They had magnificent wardrobes full of silk robes and gold jewelry. Um, Many of these gowns were made of 12 layers of colored silk, and they would continuously fold them to show off the many different layers all at once. Um, Japanese culture installs many different art forms, and they continually like to show off a lot of this layering and such. All right. They would also create decorative fans, like you see right here. This woman showing off. They would paint them with flowers, trees, and birds, and attach flowers and long silk cords to their fans and such. In addition to how they looked, the nobles took great care with how they spoke and they wrote. Writing was very popular among the nobles. Many women wrote diaries and journals about their lives at court. And unlike men who usually wrote in Chinese, the noble women wrote in the Japanese language. And as a result, many of the greatest works of early Japanese literature were written by women. One of the greatest writers was this one right here. You can see her. This is Lady Murasaki. And around 1000 AD, she wrote The Tale of Genji. This is believed to be one of the most important first full-length novels in the history of humankind. And The Tale of Genji is a story of a prince named Genji and his long quest for love. During his search, he meets women from many different social classes. Many people consider The Tale of Genji one of Japan's greatest novels. All right. And continuing on with that, most early Japanese prose was written by women, but both men and women wrote poetry. Nobles loved to read and write poems. Poems from this time usually had only 5 lines. So you can see an example over here, even though it is longer than 5 lines. This is an example from the Heian period. It says, the breezes of spring are blowing the ripples astray along the water. Today they will surely melt the sheet of ice on the pond. Now, some of you guys don't have an appreciation for poetry. Some of you guys do. So you might really think that this is unique and interesting all in one. Let's continue to move on. Visual art. Besides literature, Japan's nobles also loved the visual arts. The most popular art forms of the period were painting, calligraphy, and architecture. Now, if you guys have started on your warm-up for warm-up number 14, you'll notice calligraphy is, in fact, one of the words. And calligraphy, again, is a form of writing. And it was definitely a form of art in Heian culture, and it is a decorative type of writing, and many calligraphers spent hours carefully copying poems. All right, moving on to the architecture. These particular builders and architectures, they copied many Chinese buildings, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video. These styles featured buildings with wooden frames that curved slightly upwards at the end. You can see this style right here, and right here along the roof. The wooden frames were often left unpainted to look more natural, although this one has definitely been painted. Thatched roofs or wood or straw roofs also added to the natural feels. And nobles would also surround these houses with elegant gardens and ponds. Just a really, really pristine picture right there. Very, very peaceful. And most buildings would, would be added to the beauty with these elegant gardens and the ponds. For performing arts, people would gather to watch performances by musicians, jugglers, and acrobats. Perhaps you've seen some of these demonstrations or performances take place at shows and such. Especially popular were the plays in which actors skillfully mimicked other people. In later centuries, these types of performances developed into a more serious form of drama called no. Created in the 1300s, no plays combine music, speaking, and dance. These plays often tell about the great heroes or figures from Japan's past. Now, with their religion, Buddhism takes a little bit of a minor change. Religion became something of an art form in Heian. The nobles' religion reflected their love of elaborate rituals. Most of the common people in Japan, though equally religious, didn't have the time or money for elaborate or special rituals. As a result, different forms of Buddhism began to develop. And one of them was Pure Land Buddhism. And this didn't require any special ritual. This chanted Buddha's name over and over to achieve an enlightened state. Now, the other one was Zen Buddhism. And in the 1100s, another popular form, such as Zen, arrived from China. And Zen Buddhists believe that people seeking wisdom should practice self-discipline and meditation or quiet thinking. These ideas appealed to many Japanese, especially the warriors. As these warriors gained more influence in Japan, so did Zen Buddhism. Now, I will say Zen Buddhism is the most popular worldwide of all of the Buddhist traditions, and it is very, very influential here in the States even. So I guarantee it won't be the last time you hear about Zen Buddhism. All right, well, that's all for the notes from here. And what your job is to do now is access that graphic organizer that has the 5 different categories of culture listed on it, and you're going to go through these notes and list 3 different note items for each category in that graphic organizer. All right, and as usual, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me, email me, and hope you guys are doing good. Keep up the great work. You all who are participating are doing a outstanding job, and I just encourage you guys to keep on trekking along. All right, I'll see you guys soon, hopefully, and take care.